and welcome back to Catholic Mom and Daughter. This is our Christmas picture book edition. I'm Jennifer and this is Kate, and today we have a whole lot of picture books to show you. In fact, so many that this is going to be a two-part video.
Alright, so today in part one we have 4 different categories of books, each with 2 to 3 or maybe more books in each category. So the first category is books on saints whose feasts fall during Advent, and the second category is books on Las Posadas.
The third category is books that deal with the Nativity itself in some way, and then at the end we have a fun collection of pop-up books to show you because those are always very festive this time of year. And as a special surprise, we have our supervisor joining us today, St. Nicholas. This little guy from Playmobil has been with us for several years, and for some reason he now lives in our sewing room. So whenever we have sewing glitches, we always ask St. Nicholas to help us, but it just shows you that you are never too old for Playmobil.
Alright, starting off in the saints category, we have St. Nicholas himself on December 6th. One of our favorite picture books about St. Nicholas is The Baker's Dozen.
We like this one because it's a great story about a baker who needs to learn the true spirit of generosity, which is perfect for Christmas. But then also in the back of the book, there is a recipe to make St. Nicholas cookies. So this is a fun book to read on his feast day, and you can make the cookies. I believe that you can get the book and the cookie cutter as a set on Amazon. Last time I looked, it was still there, but that's a super fun activity for his feast day.
And then if you want a good biography about St. Nicholas, we have this book, St. Nicholas, The Real Story of the Christmas Legend. It has beautiful pictures, and it's a really good length. It's not too long, but it's also not too short.
If you have younger kids who maybe don't like to sit through really long, drawn-out biographies of St. Nicholas, this is a really good compromise. It's one of our favorites. Next, we're moving on to December 12th, which is the Feast of Our Lady of Guadalupe. And for that one, I really like The Beautiful Lady by Pat Mora. The story of Juan Diego and Our Lady of Guadalupe tends to be long and have a lot of details, but I think Pat just hit the perfect balance of beautiful pictures and just enough information to tell you the whole story without it being overwhelming.
Alright, and if you want a longer, more detailed book for your older kids, there is this one, The Lady of Guadalupe by Tommy DePaula, which is a good option, and obviously it has his amazing work in it. So
I think this is the classic picture book about Our Lady of Guadalupe. We have several, but we only picked 2 of our favorites to show you, but we do have one more at the end to show you as well. On December 13th, there is the Feast of St. Lucy, and for that, you cannot beat Hannah's Christmas for a fun story for St. Lucy Day. This is the story of Hannah, who has moved to America from Sweden, and she's missing Sweden and her grandmother. So her grandmother sends her a special package, but she doesn't realize that she has accidentally mailed a tomten to Hannah, who goes around the house causing mischief as they're trying to get ready for Christmas and unpack and try to celebrate St. Lucy Day. So it has very fun illustrations in it, and it'll just put a smile on your face.
Then there's also Lucia Day in Sweden, which is another great book. And one of our favorite things about this one is all the stuff that has in the back of the book. There's the biography of St. Lucy, it has music, it has recipes, and it even has a pattern in the back for a St. Lucy or Starboy gown.
So this is like one-stop shopping for St. Lucy Day, and the illustrations in this book are especially cheerful.
Alright, moving on to category number 2, which is about Las Posadas. So Las Posadas is a 9-day Advent tradition celebrated in various countries around the world, where people go from door to door within their town, knocking at the door, trying to find a place to stay in replication of Mary and Joseph's search for lodging.
So every night that they go, they knock on the door and they're turned away until the last night when the door opens, and then they get to come in, and there's a big party, celebration, a piñata, all kinds of festivities. So to start us off with Las Posadas, we have this book by Tommy DePaula, The Night of Las Posadas, which I think is a classic. It has all of his beautiful illustrations in it, and then at the back of the book, he also goes into some detail about how the festivities are celebrated in different areas of the world. Spain versus Mexico versus America. It's interesting. Every place has their own unique twist on how they do this.
Then there is this book, 9 Days to Christmas, which is another really sweet book. It follows a little girl named Cece who is celebrating Las Posadas with her family, and she's having a fun time with it, but she doesn't really want to break the piñata she picked out on the last night.
Yeah, it's always sad when someone breaks your piñata, but that's all part of the fun and festivities of this tradition. So this one has really nice pictures in it. It's such a sweet story. And speaking of piñatas, if you haven't seen this book, Ponchos Pinata, this is a really fun one that goes into the origin of the piñata and how it became associated with Las Posadas. It's more, I would say, of a fable or a folk tale, and it starts on the last night of Las Posadas, which is Christmas Eve, and it walks you through how he was inspired to create the first piñata. The illustrations are very vibrant and colorful, and there are also a couple of cameo appearances by Our Lady of Guadalupe in this book. So this is definitely a fun, kind of out-of-the-box addition to your Christmas book collection.
All right, moving into category number 3 of nativity books, we have Bridgets Cloak. So this book is about Saint Bridget, and she is tending her sheep in this book, and when she puts them up for the night, she magically ends up back in Bethlehem during the first Christmas. And she stays there and she helps Mary and Joseph prepare for Jesus' birth.
So this book can really do double duty for you. You can read it in February for the Feast of St. Bridget, or you can read it for Christmas time for the Nativity, or you can do both, which is what I recommend because the story is wonderful, the artwork is wonderful, her cloak is so beautiful, so why not enjoy it twice a year?
Then we have St. Joseph's Story, which is a very unique book because it is the Nativity told through the point of view of St. Joseph.
So this is nice. Not a lot of books are written from Joseph's point of view. This one starts out with the Annunciation, and it goes all the way through the flight into Egypt. And you see Joseph working in his carpentry shop. You see him taking care of Jesus and Mary. So I think it's just a wonderful addition to any Christmas book collection.
Okay, then we have Stations of the Nativity. So this book, it has different stations similar to the Stations of the Cross, but the stations in the book are reflecting on events during Jesus' life. And each station has a lesson, a meditation, a prayer, it has a verse from the Psalms, and it would make a great devotional during Advent.
I agree. It would be a great devotional because this book will appeal to people of all ages. I really like station number 4, which is the birth of John the Baptist. I like how the artist captures the joy of Elizabeth when she sees her son. And then station number 12 is the presentation in the temple. And I like that one too because the artist just manages to catch that newborn baby look. You know how just a brand new baby has that special look, and somehow this illustrator nails it. Coming up next is this book, A Small Miracle by Peter Collington. And okay, I'm going to go out on a limb and I'm going to say this is my favorite Christmas book of all times. It's not set at the nativity, at the stable, but it reflects the true spirit of Christmas. It's about a gypsy woman who has fallen on hard times at Christmas, and she is rescued by Mary and Joseph and everyone from the nativity scene. So you have some really fun pictures. The wise men have to go shopping at the grocery store for food, and you see Joseph doing repairs on the gypsy's trailer. So every time I look at this book, I see new details that I had not seen before that I've missed. So I can really literally sit and look at this book over and over again.
Then we have Angela and the Baby Jesus. So this follows Angela, and she is feeling kind of bad for the baby Jesus in the manger scene outside of their church. She doesn't like seeing him sitting out in the cold. So she takes him home from church, and it doesn't necessarily go super well.
No, kids, don't steal the baby Jesus. Crime doesn't pay. It won't end well for you. But it does end up well for Angela. And I love this book because in it, one of her brothers stands up for her in a very touching way. So that's my favorite part of the story. I think I just gave it away. But anyway, there you go. Angela and the baby Jesus. Our last book in this category is one that we just found a few years ago, and it's called If You're Missing Baby Jesus. And this is a true story from 1943 in North Dakota, I think, about a family who bought a new nativity set, but it turns out their nativity set had 2 baby Jesuses in it.
So they are like, all right, this has twins essentially in it. And so they realized that someone who bought a nativity set must have gotten one without Jesus. So they put up this poster that says, if you're missing your baby Jesus, you can contact us here. And it follows the story of what happens after they do that.
This story really reflects the Christmas generosity and the spirit of Christmas. The illustrations are wonderful. One of my favorites.
All right, we are here at our last category for part 1, which is the pop-up books or the interactive books. To start that off, we have a pop-up book about Our Lady of Guadalupe, which has some absolutely gorgeous pop-ups.
Yeah, I tried to take pictures of this, and I'll maybe put some up on the screen. Oh, Santa Claus.
Sorry, Santa Claus.
But really, I have no words. This is so beautiful.
Kind of difficult to show, but hopefully you can see that.
Yeah. Next we have this version of A Christmas Carol that has been adapted for young readers. When my kids were little, I wanted them to hear the story A Christmas Carol, but I didn't want to scare them. I wanted them to be able to sleep at night. So I hunted around for a version that was true to the original, but not as scary maybe. And this book fit the bill perfectly. I think the illustrations are really fun, and the ghosts are not too scary. This is the Ghost of Christmas Present, and then for Christmas Future, you just do this. So really, it's not frightening, but it does get the job done.
Next, we have this pop-up book, The First Christmas, a festive pop-up book by Tommy DePaula. So let's see if I can get these to show. It's a little bit of a beat-up copy, but we love it anyway.
Yeah, I found this book at probably the scariest Goodwill I have ever been in my life. I was not happy to be there, but when I saw this book, it was worth it. So I've always considered it one of my big finds out in the thrifting world. And this pop-up book by Tasha Tudor is another treasure. I didn't realize that she made interactive books, but she did evidently. And this one has all of her beautiful artwork in it. It has an advent calendar in it. It also has St. Nicholas and St. Lucy in it. So it has everything you need to get you through all the way to Epiphany. So again, it's a real treasure.
All right, and then at the very, very end, we have a book that's kind of a mix of all three. It's got some pop-up elements, it's got some activity elements, and that is What God Wants for Christmas.
This is really a unique book because in it you will find this little pop-up nativity scene, and you set that up a week before Christmas, and then every night before Christmas for 7 days you work through a series of presents with your children, and each night they get to open one present. The first present that they open up has the angel Gabriel in it. So in the book you read a poem about the angel Gabriel, and then you can add him to the nativity set. So you do that for 6 nights, and then on the last night, the present is the one thing that God wants for Christmas, but I'm not going to tell you what's inside this box because it's really fun, and it's a nice surprise for your children. All right, so we got through part 1 of our Christmas book extravaganza. In part 2, we'll talk about the 12 days of Christmas, Epiphany, and Christmas books that necessarily aren't religious, but they're just fun, festive holiday books. So we hope you'll join us next time. And as always, we're very glad you were here. We love showing you our books. What is your favorite Christmas picture book? If you have one, leave it down in the comments for us because we would like to know.
Yep. So, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.